All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Simply Finance with Shane White. I'm pumped today to have Joey Charbel on the podcast, better known as SEPPI. Joey, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Shane. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. First of all, thanks for coming on. I'm stoked to have you on here. As we chatted briefly before we started. A lot of people that come on here are kind of in a few categories, I guess, or come from the CPG space is predominantly what I've talked to. So I'm super pumped to have you on. It's gonna be fun.
It's my first podcast ever. I'm incredibly excited to be here.
This is badass. For everyone listening, do you mind giving everyone just a little intro to you and really what you're working on building?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Joey Charbel, aka SEPPI. I am a 25-year-old Chicago-based rap artist who takes life lessons and self-awareness and realizations to a new level by portraying them in the coolest way possible.
Damn, love that. Okay. I need to get a better, if someone asked me that question, I would have not had anything as cool as that to say. So first of all, that's awesome.
I came ready, Shane. I came ready.
You were well prepared. And to give everyone a little background. So first of all, shout out to Connor. Connor is my brother-in-law, and him and Joey are BFF. So that's how I first met you. That was probably, I'm trying to think, it's probably been, I've been dating my wife now for almost a decade. So 8 years this coming spring. So I've known you for quite a while, and would you consider this still like a newer endeavor for you?
Pretty new.
Yeah. Because when did this kick off? I was trying to think back to when I first heard, one of your guys' first songs.
I released my debut single 2 years ago. And I still only have 2 singles out. So this is very new to me.
Yeah. It's kind of wild because to me now, it's funny how this stuff happens. It feels like you've been doing it for a while, but really it's not been that long. Really?
Well, the thing is, my music career didn't start until 2 years ago, but I've been in this space working with my partner Gone for at least 6-7 years.
Oh, okay.
Even really since high school, but we kind of stopped once we went to college, and then we rekindled the relationship after that.
So maybe that's a good leeway too for everyone. So yeah, maybe can we give a little background to Luke and what he's doing and how you guys work together? Because I think that'll make a lot of sense as people look you guys up after listening to this.
Yeah, sure. So the person we're talking about is my friend Luke Gone. He goes by the alias Gone, Gawne. And this is one of my great friends from high school. We started messing around freestyling in the basement at parties and stuff like that, and never really took it too seriously. But then he had a traumatic brain injury that barred him from a lot of his high school experience, and he channeled that energy into music. And so that was his catalyst to starting his rap career. And as time went on, like I said, we kind of messed around with it in high school, and then we both went to separate colleges. I went to University of Denver, and he went to U of I. And I had left my school halfway through and came back home, and I rekindled my relationship with him. And we were just talking one day, and we said, "Hey, do you want to go film a music video in Colorado?"
Oh, and I kind of remember this. I do remember that because I think I knew you. I think you came over probably to Dunbar's, and I heard you talk about it.
So did a video for this song called "On God I Love My Squad," and Luke just didn't have a team at all. I was kind of the first person that really became his partner, and we sort of just really decided to take it seriously after we did that first video together. And
it's funny because you don't get, I feel like you don't hear the story of a lot of people's, whatever, if you want to call them a plus one, their business partner, their manager, whatever it is. But it seems like a lot of artists in reality, when you start to research and learn their story, that's really typical. Someone has a passion for something and they connect with someone, and that just is the springboard to actually building a career in a business. And it sounds like, is that it was interesting because to even back up further, because this whole podcast is really about going from 0 to 1. So for Luke, when he went out and you guys went to go film this first video, was he like, was he making money off of this? Was this just like a hobby for him
No,
at that
no,
point?
he only had a few hundred subscribers.
Okay.
I mean, his views were minimal. I mean, this was basically ground zero
Okay.
at this point. And all I know was I wanted to do something special around something that I love to do with the people I love. And I decided to pick that, and we went off to the races.
So when you guys start with this music video, did you guys at this point, was it like, we're doing this for fun? This is like, let's make something cool. Let's post it. Was there any like bigger picture at this time? Or is it kind of just to go do this and like, it was a fun trip with the boys to go out to Colorado and try to make a cool video?
I mean, I knew Luke was talented from the start, really talented. And so I really believed in him, and I knew that we can make something big out of this in due time. And so, I mean, we took it seriously from the start. I mean, at that point, we had started taking it seriously, and um, I we sacrificed. I mean, I quit my job to start helping him. So I mean, we really started taking it seriously, and we had high hopes for his rap career. And then so I could confidently say that it wasn't just like a passion project. It was something that we really believed in, and we wanted to be free from a 9 to 5, and we really wanted to do something creative.
So, and that's, you kind of glossed over a huge step in your story, which is you quit your job. So let's back up. I want to learn more about this. So you have a job back here in Chicago.
Yeah,
What was kind
it
of
was
the,
nothing crazy. I was
yeah.
busting tables at a restaurant in Oak Park.
Okay.
And it just came to the point where I was working weekends. We needed to go film this during the weekend to get other people involved because no one else could take time off. And I remember not even just going into work that day. And basically the weekend after, I made an excuse that I was sick.
The typical.
And it kept happening again and again and again. And I was like, I just can't sustain this. And so I just quit.
And you're like, I'm going. So at that point too, I always love asking people this who've started something. Did you tell your parents, or did they know that like you were quitting the job? Did they know you were going all in on this, or did it kind of like become this gradual thing that, wait, Joey keeps going to film videos on the weekends and it's not busting tables. So now how is this working?
God bless my parents. They're actually extremely, extremely supportive, and
Awesome.
they were more excited at the start than they
Really?
were towards the middle process. I mean, it got to a point where it was this exciting thing, and they thought it was really cool, and they sort of saw the big picture, and but it took a while for things to start making money, and
Okay,
so there
sure.
was a while in between where like I'm doing 5, 10, 20 videos and paying out of pocket, and I'm not getting money, and Luke's not getting money, and we're still trying to figure all these things out. And so it kind of, my parents did get annoyed at some point, but then they saw the fruits of our labor come to fruition a little longer down the road.
Yeah, which makes sense. You gotta put the work in first, usually before it starts producing seeds, right? Did you,
Absolutely.
and then like to give everyone a little more of a background, obviously, because I think a lot of people listening to this will be really intrigued. How
Hmm.
does one make money in this? Like, I think, that's probably the biggest question I get for some of these people I have on who are in different spaces. Because if you're in the 9 to 5, everyone
Hmm.
understands clock in, you clock out, you make this an hour, this is what you get paid. In your field, your area of the world here, like what are the main drivers of incurring revenue?
So revenue from music has changed a lot in the past few years, and one of the biggest changing factors in that was the pandemic.
Mhm.
Typically, artists' biggest money maker was touring. They would do an album, and then I mean, this is how a deal goes usually. It's like they record and write an album, and they release it, and then they do touring for the album. And that got thrown away because of the pandemic. And so now we're starting to see a lot of emerging new revenue streams for artists. Mainly now it's streaming, it's stream revenue. The highest paying one is that most people use is Spotify, and then on the lowest end it's like YouTube.
Oh, really? So
And
it's
now
Spotify first. Oh, that's interesting to me.
Spotify first. I would mention like there's like platforms like Tidal too, but
Yeah.
not a lot of people use Tidal. Do you use Tidal?
No, I don't. I do not use
Neither
Tidal. I
do
use
I.
Spot, but so actually, before not to like pause what you're going down because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
know this. Spotify, for example, do you guys post directly to Spotify? Because one thing I
Hmm.
realized as of late, I use some for this podcast, and I've told people this. I use something called
Mhm.
Anchor, which is like you
Okay.
upload and edit things in Anchor, and then Anchor sends out the podcast to I think it's I'm on 11 platforms. So I'm
Hmm.
on Spotify, and it's like my second biggest platform behind like Apple Podcasts. But
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a penny from it. I don't know how I would. Like I don't know how I don't know. I thought about that recently. I'm like, wait a minute, should I be getting paid for the views on Spotify? And I don't have like a Spotify like login account for it. It's publishing on it through Anchor.
Right.
So I
Right.
don't know. It might be different for
So,
podcasts, but I'm curious how you do it.
well, no, that's interesting to hear. I mean, we use a distribution service called DistroKid, and there's just different ones. There's CD Baby, TuneCore, and then DistroKid. Those are like three main ones. And I use
Okay.
DistroKid, and so does Luke, I believe. And basically, it's similar to Anchor. It's like you upload your material to this distribution platform or whatever service, and they put it on Spotify and all these other different platforms. And and you generate revenue through the streams, and you get different payouts depending on each platform.
Got it. Which makes sense. I mean, that's how like YouTube or like, AdSense is, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
basically tied. They're running ads. That's what I would think. Like if someone's listening to my podcast on Spotify, they're probably getting hit with ads unless they're premium.
Mm.
But I'm not seeing any. I see the numbers, but I don't see the dollars. I just realized that the other day because I usually like we can go down this off the air, but it
It's
was interesting because I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute, people like you guys who are like streaming on there and you're getting lots of streams, like that makes sense. But I feel like, I'll have to figure that out. Okay.
it's so minuscule the amount of money that I mean, per you have to get 1 million streams, earn between 4 and 6K in the US on
Wow.
Spotify. So
That's
like, I mean, it's
crazy.
fractions of a penny.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, so but now, besides streaming revenue, there's so many other ways. I mean, this whole NFT thing is really, really getting people on their creative side to find new ways to make money. It's pretty overwhelming. I mean, I could talk about it forever,
I mean,
but
it's funny. I've had two calls today with people asking me about NFTs, and I'm like, I know I need to
yeah,
learn more, but I
uh-huh.
don't know. I'm like enough to know what it is a little bit, but I could learn a ton from you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm still learning too, and I'm not even sure if I feel confident explaining it, but
So okay, so are
for
you
another
yeah,
time.
so for you guys in art though, how would you sell an NFT? Would you do like a photo? Would it be part of a song? Like what kind of NFT would an artist like you guys sell?
Oh, there's so many different ways you can do it. I'm not sure how I would structure mine, but I'll tell you an example that I heard of recently. Have you ever heard of the artist Blau,
Yeah,
3LAW or whatever?
yeah.
He made like the first artist to release an NFT in the form of, or an album in the form of an NFT. And he
Oh,
made like 11 million
whoa.
off of it.
So how did it
Like
work? Like
insane money.
you only release so many albums?
So I think what he did was he released the album in the form of an NFT, and all the ownership handed over to the owner of the NFT. And I think it just kept getting traded and traded and traded, and he collected a bunch of royalties, and it kept getting higher and higher bids. And like you can only listen to the album if you had the NFT.
Oh, interesting. So it was like
Yeah.
one person technically was able to listen to his album at a time until he resold it.
Right. Yeah. And so what this whole NFT thing is doing, from my understanding, is it's giving a lot of ownership back to the artist that would have otherwise been delegated to a label or something like that.
Oh,
So mhm.
it seems like I get how you could make a lot of money. Like, okay, if you're someone big, like with his name, it
Yeah,
seems like you'd have to have some scale in order for that to make sense. Because if you're someone
absolutely.
smaller or newer and you release it, like who's going to pay for it necessarily? And then it never gets out there and no one hears it, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's one of the biggest things that I'm learning about NFTs is that community is everything. Nothing, your NFT isn't going to circulate. It's not going to get any trading volume, and it's not going to be worth much if you don't have a community to back it up.
Yeah, got it. Okay, very cool. So there's streaming. So there's the Spotify's, titles, etc., YouTube
Mhm.
streams, and then things like NFTs? What other, and then I guess before COVID, there's a lot of touring. Is touring kind of coming back too? Or is that something you guys have done at all?
It is and it isn't. I mean, we keep seeing new variants, and like I just keep seeing things getting canceled over and over again. I don't really know how I don't know how strongly it's going to reemerge.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, I don't think the appeal is ever going to go away for live music, but it's not the only thing that artists can rely on at this point. Um, and then another way that artists can make money is through features, um, and through I guess promotions, or I mean, you really just become a brand,
Yeah.
and you can monetize yourself in so many different ways.
Got it. Okay. Sweet. That's really cool. So I can see how that could be tough at first, because it sounds similar to like if you want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast, like you really have to
Mhm.
like get content, create a content, push lots of good content out and get it
Yeah.
to a lot of people. It's like it's no different whether you're rapping, doing a podcast, being a YouTuber, it sounds like. I mean, it's kind of all the art forms are in different way. They're different shapes, but they're kind of going down the same way of making money, if I'm not, mistaken.
No, definitely. I agree. I think there's a lot of constants for creators across all departments.
Pretty cool. So then for you guys, did you guys start filming videos, which then I'm assuming you'd pull the audio and put the audio on something like Spotify, the videos on YouTube, and then you're putting stuff on
Hmm.
Instagram and everywhere else. Is that kind
Yeah.
of what you guys started doing? So was it really like a content game early on? Is it like how many songs can we come up with? How many videos can we create? Like what was that process like for you guys early on? I'm so curious.
Yeah. There is a huge learning curve. I mean, let me think. Um, up until a year or two ago, we didn't start releasing content consistently. So that's yeah, it's you're so on point. One of the things that we learned is it not only is it not enough to it's not enough to just release consistent content, but it has to be quality.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ramped up our production about 1 or 2 years ago, and we started having Luke release almost even every week,
Oh,
full
wow.
song and video every week.
Damn.
And we played the YouTube game, Shane. We we saw that rap YouTube scene was kind of blowing up, and that there were a lot of artists making good money that weren't top Billboard and who weren't super famous, but they just had a huge following on YouTube, and they were able to make good money through that. And so we started getting into the YouTube game. One of the biggest game changers that we had was making a song with two guys, Crypt, who's a dear friend of ours, who's a big YouTube rapper who with like well over 1 million subs.
Wow.
And then this other guy, Chase, CHVSE. We did a song with them in Colorado, again at my house,
Love it.
called Rise. And that was our breakthrough point into the YouTube rap community.
Oh,
And what
cool.
that allowed us to do was to keep working and climbing the ladder with other artists and keep acquiring new fan bases and bringing them into our own. And so that, on top of starting to release consistent quality product, was a huge game changer in allowing us to build our brand.
So collaborating is a huge, huge, huge component, sounds like, for you guys.
Absolutely.
And how does it is like it's funny because I think about for you guys to collaborate is a totally different game than like in the podcast world. Like obviously, like getting people on your podcast is really important. And it really, I think the interesting thing about podcasts, for example, just that's the world I'm living in, is usually you have someone on. Obviously, it's a guest, it's an episode, it's content for me, but
Hmm.
hopefully my audience then hears about either a brand or a rapper and like checks it out for the first time. So it's like mutually beneficial, which is why I've loved podcasts. Is
Yeah,
rapping kind of the same thing because you're like kind of bringing two communities together for a featured song with two different people?
I think so. I think it's maybe, I feel like it helps a little bit more collaborations in music than it would in a podcast, because if you're making a song, if you're making I feel like you can do a podcast with people that have two completely different demographics.
True.
But in
Yes.
music, you wouldn't necessarily do a collaboration if it didn't line up that way.
Right.
And so I feel like every time you hit a feature, have a feature in a song, it does a better job of transferring fans in between.
And you guys are creating a song together, which I think is, I mean, that's just the art in that is pretty incredible. Like, how does that work? Like, you guys are, does one person usually like kind of have like a somewhat of a, I don't even know what I'm butchering this. Obviously I'm not a
No worries.
rapper.
It's all
Does
good.
someone have like a shell of what the song will be? And then you're kind of moving the featured artist in and you're getting their perspective, or like, how does all that work? I've always wanted to know.
Yeah, it depends. Most of the ways that I've collaborated with artists is, yeah, they'll give me sort of a shell. They'll give me a beat with a hook, you know, a chorus or something on it, and they'll ask me to fill in the blank. That's most of the ways that I've done it. But then I've also seen, you know, two guys get in the studio, or whoever, maybe two guys, girl, whatever, get in the studio, and they just throw on a beat and go right off the bat.
Got it. So it can be kind of either way. I would love to see that. Is that pretty cool? Like, just, I feel like sitting in a studio and watching two people who are very artistic and obviously good at what they do, just like mash it up and throw shit together would be so cool.
Sometimes it's the coolest thing ever. Sometimes it's the most embarrassing moment. it can be pathetic sometimes, but when it clicks, it's really special.
Yeah, I bet. Especially I can imagine if it's like just not a good fit. You're like, shit, we're both in this room together. Are we gonna keep doing this, or what's gonna happen?
I've seen people not be able to write for hours, just mental block, and it's just like, I guess we'll try this another day.
Yeah, no, it's so cool, so interesting. So I mean, it's so cool because you guys kind of started from like, and I love this with anyone who starts anything. Like, you obviously don't know what you don't know, and a little bit of being naive to any industry you're getting into, I think, is the beauty of it. Is just like, you don't know what you're about to go through. Like, you're like the 73rd person I've talked to on here from like a founder's perspective, and it's like, that's consistent with everyone. 99% of people like don't really understand what they're getting into until they do. Do you think now that you're starting to build a following, you're putting out content, has it been more work, less work, about what you thought it would be? Like, I'm curious to know, like, from an overall, like, what you're getting yourself into, what you would look back on and think.
Infinitely more work. Infinitely more work. This is so hard, man. It really is hard. I mean, it's like you can never stop working, and it feels like you can never stop working and you still won't make it. Sometimes I can tell you for a fact, but at the same time, we're lucky that we love what we do, so it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time. There's a lot of tedious and technical things that do get annoying sometimes, but we've really been trying to enjoy the journey, and we do. I think some of my most cherished memories are these music videos and traveling with Luke and making these moves.
That's super cool. Where all have you guys gone to shoot stuff? Like, I feel like every time you put something out, you're in some different state or somewhere.
Yeah.
I was over the one day you were like driving home it was like Saturday night. You got there at like midnight and you're pulling up.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing? You're filming it. You're like, yeah, I just drove back from Kentucky or something. I'm like, oh wow, you guys are going that far to film a music video? I'm like, isn't there something in Chicago you could film it at? Like, I just don't know anything about it. So it's so cool.
That's so funny. I forgot about that. Yeah. We frequented California a lot. That's a lot of our bread and butter for our videos. Because Luke used to be co-managed by two guys out there, so we travel out there a lot. So California, Colorado a bunch, Kentucky, Kansas City, Wisconsin, Florida. We're touching bases in a lot of parts of the US.
You really are. And what is it because the people that you want to film with are there? Is it because there's like I know the one video you guys put out recently, you were in like I don't even know what that was, like an abandoned factory where you guys like, do you have to like search for things that'll make sense for the video? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we did, it depends. I mean, there's so many cool locations in California. That's the appeal of that. we usually go to my house in Colorado that makes a lot of great content. But then like we went to Kansas City to do that video with Tech9. He wasn't going to come to us. We had to go to him. And then like we went to California another time to do a video with Little Xan. And so it all depends, but we're finding a lot more out of Chicago than we used to. I think we've stopped traveling as much, and we've really set our home base here. It's easier. We have more people that are willing to work with us, come to video shoots. We have more resources here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and you're in a big city. So, I mean, Chicago's got a lot of stuff.
Oh, it's badass. Yeah.
We just skimmed right over the one you said you went to Kansas City for, but I thought that was for me. I've obviously been following you guys ever since I think Connor showed me it, a couple of years ago. Always thought it was cool. I've always been into like people creating anything. So I've always like, when you guys post something, I'm like, I'll listen to it. Doing a collab with Tech9 though, like all of a sudden I was like, wait, hold on. Is this Tech9? Like Tech9, I grew up in high school, like Caribou Luke Tech9.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. I thought that was pretty cool. So can you explain that one? I think everyone listening, if you're a 90s baby, you probably remember that song. And I'm sure that was a cool moment for you guys, but how did you even get connected? How did all that come to fruition?
So this took like probably a year of planning, but probably about a year ago, Luke got in touch with Tech9's camp, and for the first time ever, we got some financial backing to do a 5-song project between Luke and a phenomenal singer named Atlas, who's from Colorado. And the first song of the project was this song with Tech9. So not only did we have some financial backing, but Tech9 was aware of Luke's ability, and they really do mesh nicely together, their styles. This sort of fast, technical, Midwest chopper flow. So it took some money, and it took some agreements on both sides that they'd be able to make something that they both like.
And so for that's interesting, and that's always makes my ears chirp. You said backed by money, so interesting. So did you raised money for a rap project? So kind of like you kind of got investors that are then banking on the streams being huge.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. So they, in exchange for he gave up some ownership, and we were able to get an advance from them to facilitate all this stuff.
And then they own a % of the revenue from streams. Really interesting. Right. So is there there must be a whole industry in that then?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's so many different types of deals out there.
Wow. Very interesting. Yeah. So for you guys, was that from an outsider's perspective who knows nothing about the industry you're in? Yeah. Seeing you guys with Tech9, I was like, I haven't heard of a lot of the other people you'd been with, but from talking to you, Connor, I knew that like some of them were a pretty big deal. Was Tech9 like a whole nother level though?
Tech9 was a whole nother level. I mean, this is, in my opinion, one of the most prolific rap artists that the world has ever seen. I mean, this guy's worked with Tupac, Kendrick, all the greats, and he's still kicking it. I mean, this man just made a song with The Rock.
Yeah, right. I know. That's what didn't that come out right after Luke's song?
Right before.
Oh, right before. Right before. Even better.
Even better. Yes. So yeah, it was an unbelievable experience working with him. We were pretty starstruck. He was so cool and so chill, and he's really flexible with us. We were only supposed to film with him for like 6 hours, and ended up going like 7.5. And he was just a really, really nice professional guy.
Wow. Very cool. Well, shout out to Tech9 if you ever listen.
Shout out Tech9, baby.
Very cool. So then for you guys, like as we talk about like the collab game and like working your way up, I would assume doing something with Tech9, that just like opened the door to like all kinds of new conversations. Like, and especially in that song, to give everyone a little bit more of a background, I don't know a ton about this either, but didn't Luke break some like rap speed record in that song? Or he did something pretty crazy. Like, Connor was trying to explain this to me.
Not that song. He did it in a previous track called Diablo.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure he did break the most syllables per second.
Yeah. So like
It was like,
what that means for people is like he was literally rapping so you'd have to listen to it to understand. It's hard to even explain. He's just rapping really,
yeah,
really fast, right?
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
And is that just like it's talent he has, or like how does he work on that? Is he like always trying to rap faster? I didn't even
It's
know that was a
funny.
thing until I read that he like either broke Eminem's. I'm like, I didn't know that was something people kept track of. Like this is, it was cool. I was something new I learned.
Yeah. No, it's so hard, man. It's so hard. Like I've rap pretty fast. I tried reciting some of Luke's verses, and it's like it's next level. I mean, you have to practice it for so long and build like the nerve endings to be able to speak that fast and to be able to enunciate it so well too. That's the other thing. A lot of people can do it fast, but they don't enunciate it as well.
Yeah, I could probably like mumble fast, but he's saying complete words faster than you can make like a sound with your mouth. I was so impressed.
Yeah, he'd be a good auctioneer.
No shit. Yeah, there you go. After rap, Luke can do auctioneering. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's so cool. So you guys get with Tech Nine, and then for you, like, so you have produced your own songs. You're
Mhm.
also a business partner with Luke. So what is how do those two things work together?
Mm.
Is prioritizing kind of your business partnership with Luke the focus right now? And you're also thinking about your own stuff, or is it all kind of synergistic and they kind of work together? Because you're in a lot of the videos, right? You're in the videos. And what else are you working on with Luke?
So my relationship with Luke in music started off like I was his right hand man for everything. We didn't have a team, so I'd help produce all the videos. I'd do his photography. I would do all of his design, everything. I'd help like personal manage him in a way, which means like I'd help him with content creation and just like big decisions. And then as we started building popularity and we started getting more help from others, my role has sort of diverged to creative director. That's most of what I do right now. I still do all of his artwork, and of course, I just love being a part of it. So I love going to all the videos, and I like acting too.
Yeah.
So that's why I do that stuff. But yeah, so now I'm creative director, and being totally honest, I have definitely um, used Luke to leverage my own career. The plan was it was like a few years ago. I started to carve my own path as an artist, but I just started writing.
Yeah.
And Luke says, you know what? Luke was the first person to believe in me and to really hear my music. And he's like, hey man, you're actually pretty good. And so he got me thinking, and I started to carve my own path and started writing and recording my own music. And sorry, where was I going with that?
I was just trying to say, I was trying to understand like your two paths of, building and making your own music
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
helping Luke, and like, are they synergistic, and like, what do you
They
do with
are.
Luke
We
versus
totally feed
yourself?
off
And
each other.
yeah,
Yeah, we totally feed off each other. Everything that's good for him is going to be good for me. And especially since, my debut single was featuring him, if he blows up, there's a good chance that I'm going to ride along that wave too.
got it. And then for you guys getting into the minutia do you guys have like an LLC that's like you guys together and you guys own parts of a business? Do you guys just like split the stream revenue? Like, how do you think of it from a business perspective? Is that a partnership?
We don't have anything on paper between me and him. It's
Got
all
it.
handshake deals.
Yeah.
But he does have Gone Records LLC, and I just hated the deal together because for one, he's been scorched in the past with some horrific deals, and after going through something like that, we just really didn't. Oh my gosh, my cat, dude.
Oh, don't
Uh,
worry. I usually have a
Sorry
cat,
about that.
dog. This is the life of Zoom in 2021.
so anyways, so yeah, we wanted to do handshake deals just because we didn't ever want something to get in the way of our friendship first and foremost.
Sure.
And we have a really good rapport with each other, and we have a really healthy business relationship too. And it's sort of negated the idea of having to get something in paper, and we really trust each other.
Got it. Okay. Wow. There you go. So you just handshake, trust each other. That can be
Hmm.
powerful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So what do you got now that you're with Tech Nine? You said it's a 5-part deal. So that means there's four more to come, at least
Correct.
in this project. What's that look like
Correct.
for you guys? I don't know how much you can share publicly yet, but like, are there some other big names we can all look forward to?
Mm. Um,
And you don't have to answer that if it's secret
no, it's
information.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have one as big as Tech Nine for the rest of the project yet. The second song was called, so the first one was This Is War. And the second song just dropped, I think a week or 2 weeks ago. It's called Under Pressure. And then we're still actually deciding what order we want to release the rest of the song. So I'm not even going to try explaining the names and the orders. But no, actually, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have another big feature for this project. Luke and Atlas, this other guy, is actually pretty big himself. He blew up on YouTube with like 16 million views on a video.
Wow.
And he's gotten a deal from every single major label already and has denied all of them to do this deal with Luke. And so what he's going to do after is he's going to, hopefully this 5-song project with Luke will build his resume a little bit more. And so that he can return to these labels afterwards and get a better deal.
Got it. Real businessman there.
Real businessman. Yeah. We're pretty calculated. We're not, I don't consider ourselves the typical artist who only want to create and want to be hands off of business. We take the business side very, very seriously and have studied a lot of it.
Love it. I mean, that's really cool. Yeah, I was gonna say, because I had no idea from what you see on the internet and out there. I would agree with you. I would think most people don't think a ton about that until maybe way long down the road, and they're like, wait, I should probably like be better about the business side of this and not just the art side of it. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's wild. So do you feel like you guys are at a spot, you're like in an inflection point? Like, what does it feel like where you are today? You've dropped some big albums, you got some big projects coming up. Are you happy where you at? Or I'm sure you're hungry, obviously, but like, I don't know. How would you describe where you're at in the journey of what you guys are building?
I think it's important to recognize everything we've accomplished and to realize that what we have done so far is incredible. But we're never really satisfied. We're really hungry and we're working around the clock on trying to make the next big move. And I think, especially Luke is extremely, extremely ambitious. And I don't think that we've even scratched the surface of what we're going to be able to do in the future. But it's also important for me not to get ahead of myself and not to future trip, and to take. I'm imploring a lot of patience in this. And so, yes, I am happy with our success that we've already had. Am I still hungry? Yes, but I'm also aware that these things do take time and a lot of work, and we have a long road ahead of us.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do. And the other question I wanted to ask you, I'm so curious in the process. The more I think about it, like creating a song, does Luke, like, does he spend time? I don't know why I'm correlating it. I'm thinking back to like the way I've heard like comedians build like a bit, right? Is like, do you guys have to spend a lot of time kind of like pen and paper or whatever, like headphones in, like writing? Like, are you doing a lot of writing and coming up with songs and like kind of ideating, and then maybe you drop into the studio and you start to try to like put something down? And then like, I'm just so curious how the whole process works, especially if you're doing it once. If you were doing one a week for a while, during that time frame, it must have been like you release and like, honestly, it's like go, write, record, go, release. Like it had to have been a similar, but a much more, I'm sure it takes a lot more, but like for the podcast, like I was trying to do 3 a week for a long time. And it's like, it's almost like every other day you're recording one, you're editing one, the off day, releasing it. It's going. So I'm sure it's similar.
Yeah. So I'll explain my process, then I'll explain Luke's. My process is a little unconventional. I am weak on my recording side. I'm not good at engineering and recording myself yet. I do have all the equipment, but usually when I record, I go record with Luke because he's really good at it. But I write every day, at least like an hour or two, and or at least I try. And then I go, so I find a beat usually, or I find a line that I'm attracted to, and then I write to it, and then I usually hit up Luke and I go record with him. Luke on the other hand, he used to do that too, but now, from what I understand, Luke just hears a beat and he just goes straight to his mic. He doesn't write things down. He just plays around with melodies
Oh,
and certain rhythms, and he gets a feel for it, and he can just rap it on the spot and edit as he goes.
whoa. So he's just like
Yeah,
garage band doing some of that.
Ableton.
Oh, sorry.
Ableton.
Yes, I'm sure. I was gonna say, I'm sure I'm like at the very, very highest level of like simplistic. What's on my Apple computer when I buy it? What
Oh
was
yeah,
that? What
he's
did you call the
advanced.
software? Got it.
Ableton. Yeah,
Ableton. Okay. Is it just way
Ableton.
better?
It's way better. That's the industry standard,
Okay.
I think.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, that just goes to show like the artistic evolution. I'm sure that's how a lot of people are. Oh, I don't know. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't. You know, I'd be curious to know like what Eminem does, for example. I wonder if he just gets on and hits record.
I've actually heard about it. I've heard that he does sort of similar to what Luke's doing now. He gets on a mic and he raps in circles and he makes like just throws a ton of stuff out there and they pick and choose, I'm pretty sure.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when you say engineering, do you mean like all of the inputs of when you're recording, like all of the voice alteration and stuff? Like that's what that is like very a technical skill.
Yeah, mixing, mastering, getting levels of the vocals right. You're
Got
right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's what you always see like on TV when they're like in a studio and they're like moving. There's like that huge, crazy amount of dials and people are moving stuff. Is that what I'm thinking of?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
it. Remember, this podcast is called Simply Finance. I'm always trying to break things down for people because I obviously don't know much about a lot of this stuff. That is really cool. So you're trying to write every day. So it's like a daily process for you.
It's a daily process. Yeah, I try to keep on my toes.
Yeah, I know. That's something in the last year that I've found has become it's helped me in everything I'm trying to work on. Is like doing. I used to get really obsessed with like a yearly goal, and then I think
Mhm,
I would, for lack of better words, I'd get like overwhelmed with like
mhm.
how on earth do I go from here to here? How do I go from 0 to 1?
Yeah.
And then now I'm way more focused on like what's the little thing I do every single day. And over a week, over 2 weeks, over a month, over a quarter, like you start to see real progress.
I
And I
like
think I'm
that.
sure writing is probably very similar.
Yeah, I like breaking it into blocks.
Like putting in the reps.
Yep. It's all
So
about the
what
reps,
can people
baby.
listening expect from you? Are you planning on launching anything else soon? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously I'm hoping that there's another SEPPI rap coming out soon.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So I debuted about 2 years ago and got really good numbers for my debut. I'm currently sitting at, let's see, my debut single has almost 330,000 streams on Spotify
Damn.
and about 175,000 views on YouTube between my channel and Luke's. And so I don't know if you know this, but that's a pretty damn good debut
I mean, that's a
for an
lot of
artist.
views. I do know that, especially on the YouTube
Uh,
side. I probably know better than Spotify.
yeah, and so what this told me is that people like my music, and so I released another single called "Damn," which was more of like a club banger compared to the first one, which was way more heartfelt. But what I learned is that I saw Luke a lot of the success through this consistent quality product, right? And so I didn't have a lot of material outside of those two songs at the time. And I decided to take basically this whole year off and just stack content and write every day. And right now I'm sitting on like 15, 20 songs
Oh,
that I've
wow.
written, just unrecorded, just written out on my notes. And what I did was I made the decision to take the year off, the breaks a little bit, and stack up a bunch of content so that I can get ready to release consistently without a lot of hassle and without doing things last second. And so now I'm gearing up for 2022 to be like a full song and video once a month, entire year.
Wow.
And I think that that's going to help me out a lot. A lot of my fans have been pretty upset that I didn't release, but I think once I get back in the game, they're going to realize how good it was for
I
me
feel
to
like that
stack content like
doesn't that happen kind of a lot in like not just rap, but like a lot of I feel like singers, artists, Like you'll hear people just like they're gone for a little while. I know the other day I was who was I saying this about? I think I said it about maybe Lil Wayne. It was definitely a
Hmm.
rapper from my childhood, and I was like, where has he been? Like, is he alive? Like, I haven't heard a
Right,
single thing out of this guy in so long.
right.
And then they'll just drop like this crazy sick album, and they've just been like they've been working on. It sounds like that's kind of what you're trying to do, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a part about that too is that most of these guys are probably, when they go away for that long, they're probably trying to release albums.
Sure.
I'm not going to release an album for a while. One of the formulas that we found for beginner artists is to do this one song and video single, like, consistently, and not to release an album, because as a new artist, if you release an album, I think a lot of your work will be overlooked and won't get the spotlight that it deserves until you release it individually and promote it for, a month straight.
Got it. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
if you drop a whole album, you're asking people to listen to a ton of stuff, which if they don't know
Right.
you, it might be a hard sell. Or you might just
Haven't
like
proven
people
yourself.
like wouldn't listen to half of it, right?
Exactly, man.
Got
Yeah.
it. And then for you, so how's that going to work, with you, Luke, if you're trying to release things at certain times and go film, is that going to have like, are you guys going to try to support each other and go film for each other and switch back and forth? Or how does that work as he's starting to grow? You're trying to release new stuff. I'm curious how the dynamic will work.
Luckily, we haven't butted heads yet. In respects to like having things line up for us. Um, but luckily we have a videographer that is sort of like, he's part of our team. This guy Tommy Jackson, Indie Black Magic. He's been our number one videographer since the start, and he prioritizes me and Luke. So hopefully, I won't have to sacrifice my career to help Luke out and him in return also.
Huh.
Um,
Got it.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah. It's kind of trying to keep a team together. I didn't
yeah,
realize how much in this there's like a team of people that
yeah.
like kind of all like you see usually the face of whoever the rapper is, but I guess I didn't never realize that it usually is some sort of team that kind of feeds all this together.
Yeah, that was a good point you made earlier. You don't see a lot of the supporting people in artist careers, and the truth is, no one makes it alone. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got someone that helped them out along the way, and that's one of the biggest defining characteristics of our success is that we have a solid team, and we're all consistent, and we all, prioritize this thing.
Got it. Yeah. That seems key, right? I feel like when you have a team of people who are all driving towards the same goal, it just tends to get legs quicker and you just make a lot more progress when you have other people. Like if Luke's writing right now and you're on a podcast and you get off, you're like probably like shit, I need to like work on something, write some myself or like what can I do to help us? Like I definitely feel that when I'm building right now, me and my co-founder, like I feel like we feed off each other. Like we'll have like, one of us is working on something, one's working on the other. It just like helps like keep everything on track and growing.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that. Love that. So for you, what would you say has been two questions here towards as we're getting towards the end? What would you say has been the biggest surprise in a good way, like for you since you've started this? And then on the flip side, what has been, the biggest unforeseen challenge that, was really hopefully at this point a speed bump, but for a lot of people could have been what maybe like ended what you're working on or, made you give it up?
Hmm. Great question. The biggest surprise for me, was that the first one you said?
Yeah, sorry, threw two at you there.
Fine,
Biggest like good
fine.
thing, surprise, and biggest hurdle you guys have had to overcome.
I've been really feeling so grateful. We have put as much work as we have into this thing. And I think one of the biggest surprises for me is just how much I enjoy doing this. I never thought that I'd be involved in this thing up until very recently, relative to my life. And I'm just really, really happy with all the avenues that, or all the doors that this has opened in my life. So I'm not only a rap artist, I'm also a designer. I do a lot of other artwork and stuff like that too. And it's helped bring a lot more opportunities in my life. On the biggest challenge side, I think that this rap career, I have understood more and more and more that it takes a lot longer than I thought. I think that we were sort of fooled by a lot of people who start their rap career or any music career are sort of fooled by these one-hit wonders who get super lucky and they're one in a million and they blow up and have a number 1 song on Billboard, and then the rest of their life is just like incredible.
Yeah.
That can happen, but this game is a lot harder than I thought. It takes a lot more patience, a lot more work, a lot of business savvy moves. And I think that the biggest thing that we have to try to do for the future is just to employ a lot of patience and to be consistent and to not give up, because the truth is that one song, it only takes one song. It really does. But in order to get to that point, there's a lot of stuff on the back end that needs to be done.
Got it. Yeah. It's funny. It doesn't matter if it's rap. I've had a lot of people on here that started food brands, athletes. It seems like the two things that I've heard that are across the board: patience and consistency. It's funny. It's like that whole brick by brick mentality is honestly so true in so many different aspects. And it sounds like it's the same for rap, right? It's all those hours that no one watches and no one sees. They just get to see the finished product that ends up blowing up and be like, oh, wow, this is an overnight success. It's like, yeah, it was the 10 years of late nights that you saw the overnight success. I love that.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. One of the last few questions I love to ask everyone that comes on here, because I think, everyone on here is super creative and has really cool answers to this. The first one, so you have, I feel like, probably a different daily routine than maybe someone running a CPG brand, for example. Probably it's like a different world for you. For you, what do you do to, plan your big goals down to what do you use to knock out just like daily tasks to get shit done? Are you an app guy? Do you use just pen and paper? Like, what are the tools you use to get shit done?
Oh, I wish I had my notebook by me. Pen and paper, man. I wake up every day and journal. That's one of the most powerful tools I have, that I started practicing a few years ago. I'm a huge pen and paper guy. I just like the aesthetic more. So that's what I do for my daily stuff. As far as bigger goals, me and Luke are pretty good about meeting up periodically and talking about them. It's when the opportunity comes knocking, we'll know, in regards to like making a big move or something like that. But it really is, there's so many constants and just so much tedious and repetitive work that I think will build up to that. So yeah.
Love it. Pen and paper is also my favorite. It's funny. I think I've tried like every app on the planet, and then I always come back to pen and paper, and nothing can beat that, in my opinion.
Don't like them, huh?
No, I don't know what it is. I think it's something about when you write it down, you feel like you have to get it done. When you put it on an app, it's easy to like just move it to the next page, move it to the next day. Pen and paper, like write it down. Like I gotta get this shit done today. Love it.
Totally.
No, I love that. The next question is source of knowledge. So for everyone listening to the podcast today, do you have any, books, podcasts, just anything that is intriguing, interesting to you that you'd love to share with everybody?
Do you mind if I grab it real quick?
No, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
All right. 1 second.
There we go.
All right, here we go.
We got a big book. This is a big book.
This right here. This is all you need to know about the music business. This is what is known as the music Bible, literally by Donald S. Passman. I read this book before getting into music at all. I encourage every musician out there to read this and to learn it front to back. It'll save you so much time, and it'll really help things out.
Very cool. Wow, that's like a very tangible suggestion for everyone listening if you're interested in music, rapping, whatever it may be. Very cool. I love that one.
This is the bread and butter.
Where did you learn about that book?
I learned about it from a class that I took.
Wow, so school does work
sometimes.
Business
music class.
Okay, a business music class. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to say to any up and coming artists is that there's something out there for everyone. That's the truth. I have a lot of people that come to me asking if they should release something or if it's good enough or something like that. And I just really encourage people to just go for it and learn along the way. Even if people don't like it, you'll know and you'll be able to readjust in any way that you see fit. And I just see so many people not even take the step to give themselves a chance. And I really encourage people to take that risk and to just go for it and learn.
Love that. Yeah, I would say the same thing when it comes to even like if you ever had an idea for a podcast or a YouTube video or anything, it's like everyone says this, but I think you're going to be number like 172 on here. It's like if you go back and listen to my first few, oh my God, they're so bad. They're so bad. Like I don't even know what I was doing. But everyone's like that. Like I guarantee you some of the best people on the planet from an artistic standpoint, their first few songs, their first few videos, like they're horrible. No one knows what they're doing. So just dive in.
No one starts out good.
I love that. That's great.
No one starts out good. Eminem didn't blow up till like 30. Jay-Z didn't blow up till 30. 50 Cent, all those guys.
You still got a few more years till then. So there you go. Love it. Love it. The last question and the most important question is how can people follow along with you? How can they follow along with Luke? And how can people just listen to your guys' music and follow you on the socials?
So I'm known on YouTube as SEPPI, SEPPI, all caps. You can follow me there to see all my videos. On Instagram, it's at the real SEPPI, all one word. And I think I'm gonna make a Discord soon, but that's and Twitter. Twitter, it's at real SEPPI. And so you'll be able to see most of my videos on YouTube, all my videos on YouTube. And you'll be able to see my updates and follow along my process on my other social media.
Sweet. And we'll tag all those here when we release the episode.
Perfect.
One last question I have to ask too is where'd the name come from? I never have asked you that.
Oh, funny. So I actually coined the nickname Giuseppe Perlini in college. And I don't know if you know what Pearl means.
No, I saw that in your email when you had me send the Zoom link. I gotta ask him what this means.
It's something used to describe a well-rolled joint.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So I kind of I just abbreviated it, shortened Giuseppe Perlini to Seppi, and that's what I rolled with, and I just dig it.
Wow, that was a good pun too. You just rolled with it. That's hilarious.
I love it. I like it. I'm gonna start using that.
You didn't even realize you threw that in there. I love it. That's a great story. I always wondered. I'm like, where did Seppi come from? Wow, that's way, way cooler than I would have thought it was.
Well, I appreciate it.
I love it, man. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show. I'm pumped for you and I'm pumped for what you and Luke are building. Hope everyone checks you out on what's the best place? Spotify, probably. Spotify and YouTube for either audio or video.
Making the most dough.
Yeah.
Spotify will make you the most.
All right, we'll point you a spot, and then after this, I got to figure out what the hell I'm doing because my Spotify, I'm not getting anything, so I got to figure that out.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Sounds good. All right, man. Well, good catching up, and thanks for the time.
Great talking to you, man. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. But we'll do it again in person.
Sounds good.
All right. See you, man.